Hey there, welcome back. You know how we love to tackle those topics everyone's buzzing about, and today it's all about Picoin. It feels like everyone's wondering, is this the next big crypto success story, or are we headed for a crash landing? To help us break it all down, we're diving into an analysis by Portable Detective '07 over on Binance Square. They've really dug deep into Picoin's potential future value, and let me tell you, the range of predictions is pretty mind-blowing.
What's captivating about Pi is that it's really trying to shake things up. It's built around this idea of mobile mining, aiming to make crypto accessible to practically anyone with a smartphone. But as with anything that disrupts the norm, there's a lot of debate around how this approach will actually translate into real-world value.
Right. And Portable Detective '07's analysis actually tackles that head on, mapping out Picoin's potential journey across the short, medium, and long term. I don't know about you, but I'm already feeling a little roller coaster anxiety just thinking about the possibilities.
We'll hold on tight, because the short term is where things could get particularly turbulent. Portable Detective '07 points out that we should expect some significant volatility right out of the gate. They suggest a possible stabilization point somewhere between $2 and $5, but there's also a looming risk of a massive sell-off from those early adopters looking to cash in quickly. That kind of rush for the exits could send the price tumbling below a dollar.
This early stage feels like such a crucial psychological moment for Picoin. What do you think is driving those early adopters? Is it a genuine belief in Pi's long-term potential, or are they just hoping to ride the hype wave to a quick profit?
It's a fascinating mix of motivations. You have some individuals who genuinely believe in the project's mission of decentralizing finance and making crypto accessible to the masses. They see Picoin as a chance to be part of something revolutionary. But you also have those who are primarily driven by the fear of missing out, the classic FOMO. They see the buzz, the potential for rapid gains, and they jump in without necessarily understanding the underlying technology or the risks involved.
That makes total sense. So for those of us watching from the sidelines, should we be bracing for a quick boom or a dramatic bust?
It's honestly too early to say definitively. What we can say is that the short term will likely be a roller coaster ride. The key will be to watch how the Pi network navigates this initial phase. Are they focused on building a solid foundation for long-term growth, or are they catering to those seeking quick profits? The actions they take in these early days will send a strong signal to the market.
Okay, so fasten your seatbelts, everyone. But what about beyond that initial frenzy? Portable Detective '07's analysis also delves into the factors that could drive Picoin's growth in the medium term.
This is where things start to get really interesting. The analysis highlights a couple of key elements that could propel Picoin into that $10 to $50 range. One is the development of decentralized applications, or dApps as they're often called, built on the Pi network. Think of it like the App Store, but for a decentralized world. The more useful and engaging those dApps are, the more demand there will be for Picoin, the fuel that powers that ecosystem.
Okay. I see where you're going with this. We're not just talking about the value of the coin itself, but the value of the entire network it supports. That real-world utility could be a game changer.
Absolutely. And it's not just about fancy tech either. Merchant adoption is also flagged as a crucial catalyst. If we start seeing businesses big and small accepting Picoin as a form of payment that gives it a tangible real-world presence, suddenly it's not just a speculative asset on an exchange, it's something you can use to buy your morning coffee or groceries.
Now, that's something I can wrap my head around. It's like the moment you could start using Bitcoin to buy a pizza, a real aha moment where the potential of crypto clicks into place.
Exactly. And those everyday transactions are what build trust and legitimacy for a cryptocurrency. But Portable Detective '07 doesn't stop there. They paint an even more optimistic scenario where institutional interest and mainstream adoption could launch Picoin into that $100 to $250 range.
Wow. Okay. Now we're talking serious gains. But what would it take to actually attract that level of attention from major players and the wider public?
It's a combination of factors. First, you need a demonstrably strong and secure network. Institutional investors aren't going to touch something that feels shaky or vulnerable to attacks. Then you need to show genuine utility. It's not enough to just exist. Picoin needs to offer something unique and valuable that solves real-world problems. Finally, there's the regulatory landscape. If governments and financial institutions are signaling openness and support, that creates a much more favorable environment for investment and adoption.
So it's not just about the tech itself, but about how Picoin navigates the broader financial and regulatory world. It sounds like we're moving from that initial hype-driven phase into a stage where Pi needs to prove its staying power.
Precisely. And the medium term will be a crucial testing ground for Picoin. Will it capitalize on these growth opportunities and establish itself as a legitimate player in the crypto space, or will it succumb to the challenges and fade into obscurity? That's the million-dollar question, or perhaps in this case, the $100 question.
All right, so we've got early volatility, the potential for real-world applications to drive growth, and the possibility of attracting big players. That's a lot to digest already, but we haven't even touched on the long-term predictions yet. And trust me, things get even wilder from here.
Now we're stepping into the realm of speculation where things get really intriguing. Portable Detective '07 lays out some models predicting PiCoin could reach over $500. It's a figure that sparks the imagination, but also raises some serious questions about the path Pi would need to take to get there.
$500, that's a number that would turn a lot of heads. What would have to happen for PiCoin to reach such astronomical heights? Are we talking about it becoming a major player in the global payment system, maybe even challenging the likes of Visa and MasterCard?
That's the kind of scenario Pi enthusiasts are dreaming of, a world where PiCoin is seamlessly integrated into our everyday lives. But to get there, several stars would need to align. We're talking about achieving mass adoption, not just among individuals, but also within established financial systems. It would require a robust and secure network capable of handling billions of transactions smoothly and efficiently. And of course, there's the regulatory piece. Governments and central banks around the world would need to embrace PiCoin, or at least create a clear and supportive framework for its use.
So it's not just about the technical capabilities of PiCoin itself, but also about navigating the complex world of global finance and regulation. It sounds like a monumental task.
It certainly wouldn't be easy, but the potential rewards are enormous. Imagine a world where cross-border payments are instant and practically free, where microtransactions power new business models, and where financial access is truly democratized. That's the kind of vision that fuels the belief in PiCoin's long-term potential.
It's a compelling vision for sure. But I have to bring up something that Portable Detectives '07's analysis doesn't explicitly address: the issue of the PiCoin supply. We're talking about a massive number of coins already in circulation, and that's even before mainstream adoption. Doesn't basic economics tell us that such a large supply could put a cap on its growth potential?
You're hitting on a crucial point that often gets overlooked in the hype cycle. Supply and demand dynamics are fundamental to how markets work. Even if millions of people start using PiCoin for daily transactions, if the supply outstrips that demanded, could create downward pressure on the price.
So it's not enough to just have a lot of people using PiCoin. The network needs to find ways to manage that supply effectively.
Right.
What kind of mechanisms are we talking about here? I've heard terms like poke and burns and staking thrown around, but I'll admit I'm not entirely sure what those entail.
Those are two of the most common methods used to control the supply of a cryptocurrency. A token burn involves permanently removing a portion of the existing coins from circulation. It's like taking a stack of cash and setting it on fire. It reduces the overall supply, which can, in theory, increase the value of the remaining coins. Staking, on the other hand, involves locking up a certain amount of your PiCoin for a period of time to contribute to the security and stability of the network. In return, you typically earn rewards in the form of additional PiCoin.
So it's about creating incentives for users to hold on to their PiCoin rather than flooding the market with sell orders. But how does Pi Network plan to address this supply issue? Have they hinted at any specific strategies they might implement?
That's one of the big unknowns surrounding PiCoin. The network hasn't yet provided a detailed roadmap for how they intend to manage the supply as it transitions to a fully open mainnet. That lack of clarity is a source of concern for some potential investors who worry that the circulating supply could become unwieldy and ultimately undermine PiCoin's value.
So it's another piece of the puzzle we need to watch closely. But even if Pi Network finds ways to manage the supply effectively, there's still the looming question of regulation. It feels like governments around the world are still trying to figure out how to approach cryptocurrencies. Could regulatory roadblocks hinder PiCoin's progress, even if it manages to overcome those other challenges?
Absolutely. The regulatory landscape is a crucial factor that could make or break PiCoin's future. We've seen governments take vastly different approaches to crypto, from outright bans to cautious embrace. If PiCoin runs into regulatory hurdles in key markets, it could stifle its growth potential, even if it has a solid technological foundation and a thriving user base.
It feels like PiCoin is at this critical juncture where it needs to prove itself on multiple fronts. It needs to deliver on its promises of real-world utility, find effective ways to manage its supply, and navigate the complex regulatory landscape. That's a lot to ask of a relatively young cryptocurrency.
It certainly is. And this is where Portable Detective '07's analysis concludes. They sum it up perfectly. PiCoin is at a crossroads. It has this massive user base, a novel mining model, and ambitious goals, but it also faces major challenges. Will it rise to the occasion and fulfill its potential, or succumb to the pressures and fade away? Only time will tell.
So, for you, the listener, what should you be watching for? What are the key indicators that might signal whether PiCoin is on the path to success or headed for a stumble?
One of the first things to keep an eye on is the development of that ecosystem we talked about. Are they building compelling dApps that people actually want to use?
Yeah.
Are they attracting legitimate businesses and merchants to accept PiCoin as payment? These are signs that Pi is moving beyond the hype and into real-world adoption.
And what about the supply issue? What kind of signals should we be looking for there?
Pay close attention to any announcements or updates from Pi Network regarding their plans for managing the circulating supply. Will they implement mechanisms like token burns or staking? Will they provide more transparency around the total number of coins that will ultimately be released? These are critical details that could significantly impact PiCoin's long-term value proposition.
And of course, we can't forget about the regulatory front. What kind of developments in that space should we be watching for?
Keep an eye on how governments and financial institutions are responding to PiCoin. Are they issuing statements, guidelines, or regulations that specifically address Pi? Are they creating a more supportive or restrictive environment for cryptocurrencies in general? These are all important indicators that could influence PiCoin's trajectory.
So we've covered the potential for early volatility, the factors that could drive medium-term growth, and the ambitious but uncertain long-term predictions. It's been quite a journey. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the environmental impact of PiCoin. It's a topic that's becoming increasingly important in the crypto world, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how PiCoin might address these concerns.
It's a crucial question that often gets lost in the excitement surrounding new crypto projects. The energy consumption of traditional cryptocurrency mining has come under intense scrutiny, with many criticizing its contribution to carbon emissions and environmental degradation. Pi Network claims to be eco-friendly, emphasizing its low energy consumption compared to proof-of-work cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. They highlight the fact that PiCoin is mined on mobile devices, which they argue consumes significantly less energy than the specialized hardware used for Bitcoin mining.
So they're positioning themselves as a more sustainable alternative. But is there any evidence to support these claims? Are there independent studies or analyses that have verified PiCoin's environmental impact?
That's where things get a bit tricky. While Pi Network promotes its eco-friendly approach, there's limited independent research to back up these claims. We need to see more data transparency from Pi Network to truly assess its environmental footprint. How much energy does Pi mining actually consume? What is the carbon footprint of the entire Pi network? These are questions that need to be answered with data, not just marketing slogans.
It sounds like there's a bit of a trust gap there. Pi Network needs to provide more evidence to support its sustainability claims if it wants to attract environmentally conscious users and investors.
Absolutely. Transparency is key in the crypto world, especially when it comes to issues like energy consumption and environmental impact. If Pi Network is serious about its eco-friendly approach, they need to be open about their data and methodologies. Let independent researchers and analysts verify their claims.
So for those of us who care about the planet and want to make responsible choices, what can we do? How can we separate the hype from the reality when it comes to PiCoin's environmental impact?
It all comes down to doing your own research. Don't just take Pi Network's claims at face value. Dig deeper into the technical details of PiCoin's mining process. Compare it to other cryptocurrencies. Look for credible sources that have conducted independent analyses of Pi's energy consumption and environmental impact. And don't be afraid to ask tough questions.
That's such an important point. We can't just blindly accept the claims being made, whether they're positive or negative. We need to approach this with a critical eye and seek out information from a variety of sources.
Exactly. It's about empowering yourself with knowledge. The crypto world is full of promises and potential pitfalls. The more informed you are, the better equipped you'll be to make decisions that align with your values and your understanding of the risks and rewards involved.
Okay, so we've gone from the potential of PiCoin to replace traditional payment systems to the importance of scrutinizing its environmental impact. It's been quite a roller coaster of a discussion.
And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore when it comes to PiCoin and its potential impact on the financial world.
It feels like we've been on this incredible journey with PiCoin from those early days of hype and speculation to the complexities of real-world adoption and the challenges of sustainability.
And what's striking is how much uncertainty still surrounds PiCoin. It has the potential to disrupt the financial landscape, but it also faces significant hurdles that could derail its progress.
Exactly. It's like this giant question mark hanging over the crypto world. Will PiCoin live up to the hype, or will it fade into obscurity? I guess that's what makes it so fascinating to follow.
It's a reminder that in the world of cryptocurrency, anything is possible. We've seen projects rise from obscurity to become global phenomena, and we've seen others crash and burn, despite early promising. PiCoin is still writing its story, and it's up to each of us to decide how we want to engage with it.
So for you, the listener, where do you go from here? We've thrown a lot of information your way, but ultimately the decision of whether or not to dive into the world of PiCoin is up to you. What advice would you give to someone who's trying to make sense of all this and figure out their own stance on Pi?
My advice would be to approach PiCoin, and really any cryptocurrency, with a healthy dose of skepticism and a commitment to continuous learning. Don't get swept up in the hype, but don't dismiss it outright either. Do your own research, dig into the details, and ask critical questions.
And remember, the crypto landscape is constantly shifting. What seems like a sure thing today could be gone tomorrow. Stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged. Your understanding of PiCoin and the broader world of cryptocurrency will evolve as the technology develops and the market matures.
Beautifully said. It's all about embracing the journey of discovery and understanding that there are no easy answers in this space. The more you learn, the better equipped you'll be to navigate the complexities and make informed decisions that align with your own financial goals and values.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you with this final thought to ponder. As PiCoin continues to evolve, keep a close eye on how they address those environmental concerns we discussed. Can they deliver on their promise of sustainable growth, or will they succumb to the same energy-intensive practices that have plagued other cryptocurrencies? It's a question that will ultimately shape PiCoin's legacy. The future of finance is intertwined with the future of our planet. Cryptocurrencies that thrive will be those that strike a balance between innovation, accessibility, and responsibility. Food for thought indeed. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of PiCoin. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those tough questions.